Should Europe be assisted to fall down? Reviewing the current confrontation between Russia and the West brings up a reasonable question. Should we simply ignore Europe and the undergoing in it degradation processes, understanding the lack of subjectiveness, or should we foster the efforts and help them fall? This issue cannot be considered isolatedly, separating Europe from the Western world, concentrating exclusively on it. The latter option is quite beneficial for the United States, Britain, and the cluster of transnational corporations, which are used to use someone as a cat's paw. Within the inertial course of events, in 2024-2025, the old continent is expected to face socio-economic catastrophe in its attempts to prevent and afterwards save themselves from this catastrophe. It's highly likely for the launch of the National Liberal All-Europe project, which, to be more precise, means the centralization and reformation of the EU with the weakening annihilation of nation-states to its fullest taking place. In 2026-2027, this construction activity will fail since the fall will be too deep and the resources to hold this unity by obligatory methods are not sufficient enough. If Russia actively joins the destruction of Europe, disturbing the economic flows, pipelines, strategic supplies, provocations of starving neo-barbarians invasion, military action provocations, and others, then nobody is going to have any resources to build national liberalism. The catastrophe will take place at least by a year earlier and will be much deeper. Except, the strikes against Europe will fast-track the exodus of capitals, industry, population, and so on to the United States, favoring them and letting them not just postpone their own fall, but to have some local growth, creating an illusion of problem solution, partly restoring the trust to the global system. Provided that anything taken to the United States can never be used by Russia within the framework of the Third Rome strategy. Anglo-Saxons are playing the role of worldly wise, the Eastern Europe of a simpleton and the Western one of a coward in the current confrontation between Russia and the West. There are no real benefits from the latter, but they are playing the role of the crowd scene and are very useful in the diversion of the mind. Nobody really cares for them. Russia may focus on Europe, but even the victory in this fight will not get us any closer to achieving our strategical goals. Should we leave Europe alone? Not a chance. When the USA faces the collapse due to the launch of riots up to the Civil War, 2025-2026, it's not something we can do, it's something we'll have to do. We'll have to be completely ready to extremely harshly and mercilessly make direct strikes against Europe so that the incipient national liberalism, which will definitely be used against us, could not rise and get strong. Getting some parts of Europe intact and undamaged into our pan-region is not possible whilst any attempts to preserve and keep them safe now are very harmful. We shall pick up the shards and use them in our own economy, but only after having achieved the victory. And yeah, needless to say, if a pace of developments continues, living in Europe Russians, in the horizon of 2024-2025, will have to have some withdrawal routes and beforehand defined red lines, crossing which will force them to leave, leaving everything else behind.